Thanks everybody for tuning in to the Boomer Talk podcast. My name is Jordan. You might know me as One Up Analytics. My co-host is Taylor, aka Somebody's Gun, and our guest today is the general manager of Built by Gamers, a professional esports org, currently in Fortnite and Valorant, moving into other titles soon. SpringLane, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, guys. Excited.
Yeah,
Of course.
I'm also really excited about this episode because the stuff we're going to talk about is kind of stuff we've talked about a bunch over the course of like episodes in the past. Um, but today, like we have you have a fresh new perspective on orgs, competitive orgs, especially in Fortnite, and how they're structured and how they're set up. Um, and I just really am excited to get your perspective on those types of topics. Um, so to start out, let's go back to like the beginning. How how did orgs evolve in Fortnite throughout the history? Like where did it start? I remember back when competitive Fortnite started, like there were things like TSM came in, they signed Daquan, Myth, Hams, Camille's, and that was like the premier Fortnite like competitive team where they got a house. They were gonna kind of run it like any other esport, and
Yep.
you don't see anything like that anymore. Obviously, like that whole structure, that whole setup wouldn't work with how competitive orgs work in Fortnite now. Um, but like, how have things changed from then to now, and how are orgs generally set up in Fortnite right now?
Yeah. No, I definitely think that TSM roster back in the day was like the pedestal, right? Like they were just looked up on by so many people. They had so many followers, and they all grew like tremendously while Fortnite was kind of growing with it. But I don't know. I think the role of orgs it was it kind of shifted when World Cup kind of got announced. A lot of orgs were, jumping at players, trying to sign them to get representation in the event because the event was like unheard of, like $3 million for first place to some random kid that qualifies and wins, and like all the orgs were like, "Yo, like that could be our org." um, and it was just kind of crazy because you just would see like so many orgs just coming into the scene. You'd see so many big orgs, so many kind of smaller orgs. It was awesome to see that. But um, I don't know. The role of the orgs kind of hasn't really changed much. Like Epic they don't highlight orgs like other esports do normally. Um, like it's kind of different with other team-based games and stuff like that, where you have like 5 players in one roster playing against another 5 players in a different roster. It's like built by gamers versus like Dignitas or something, and like a lot of the highlights and credibility goes to kind of the orgs. While in Fortnite, you just kind of see like the player name and you see the org name before it. Um, and that's kind of the representation that you get. But I don't know, it's still like orgs in Fortnite are to have like a successful roster, like you want to build up content around them. You want to have content plans developing and stuff like that, I think. And that's why I kind of love the idea of like that TSM house with Myth and Daquan and them and Hamlin's. Like that would have been sick to see it kind of last for like a year or something and see how everything unfolded. Kind of get like, I don't know if you guys were into like Call of Duty and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
with like the old Optic House,
Yeah.
with Nade Shot, Scump, and all them, and how it'd just be a camera like constantly rolling, recording content, doing challenges and stuff like that. Like that stuff's awesome, and that's also like stuff that sponsors want to see, all that stuff that fans want to see, and that's what I think could kind of be a turning point for some orgs within Fortnite if they kind of went that route. Um, that's kind of something that we want to do too, is kind of go in that direction, kind of highlight our players on our channels and stuff and do content like that. But
Yeah, I think that's a solid point and a good starting place for discussion is World Cup. Essentially, orgs kind of learned exactly what their place would be within Fortnite, and it's not going to be really working with Epic. It's going to be finding a space within Fortnite as opposed to, your traditional esports. And that must have been a shock to a ton of people, because you think any esport needs, well, I guess needs now, organizations in order to be able to grow and to thrive. And we've been able to see Fortnite grow in a different way and be extremely successful, with orgs taking a different seat than we normally do. And whether for better or worse, that's the way it's going to stay. You know, we saw back in F and PL days, Liquid, TSM, FaZe, they all wanted their rosters, they wanted their squad of guys. And today, I mean, you might be able to name what, like 3-4 teams that are fully on an organization, and it's a totally different way of looking at things. But now that we've kind of, the groundwork's been broken and rebuilt, people are figuring it out. And BBG's been doing a great job of it as an example of how the heck do we live within this space that Fortnite is giving us. And like you said, it's content.
Yep.
So just so I get like a better understanding, how much do you guys focus on content versus competitive? Like, obviously you want your players to perform the best that they can competitively, but it's much different when you're not as reliant on like competitive results. You know, there's a lot more in like the content realm, but and so like that manifests in a lot of different ways. Like Fortnite organizations are much less likely to have coaches. Generally, like players don't necessarily play with teammates who are within the same org and stuff like that. So like, how does that play in?
100%. I think there's it's like a balance between content and being a competitive player. Like, obviously, if you want to kind of go more of a content route, you'd stream more competitive events and stuff like that. Maybe you'll stream an FNCS Opens or something, but usually you don't see players, streaming in finals. Well, I mean, you do, but it's like tough for them just because of how laggy sometimes the server can be. It's tough for them just on FPS and stuff and shots registering. So they might not want to stream it. Or they just might not feel comfortable like on camera. So it's kind of, you want to find like the fine line, and you want to find like the players that kind of do both, where they both do content and they play competitive and place like really well. That's like one of the questions that we ask a lot of our players. We ask if they are like into streaming, if they like streaming, stuff like that, and we see how many hours they stream, and then we also look at their competitive placements and stuff like that to see, make sure they're placing well and everything like that. But it's kind of like a hybrid style, I'd say.
Yeah, you guys have definitely added some sheer content creators, right? People that don't even really focus on the competitive side. And what kind of opportunity did you guys see there? And, why did you choose to go that route as someone, from my understanding, that started off as a competitive org?
Yeah. I think it's just big for sponsors, big for fans to kind of follow along with the player, with the stream going on, and to kind of relate to them, to connect with them and stuff. But I mean, we love being competitive and stuff too. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, we love watching our guys place in events, dominate the trios, dominate solo events. But it's just content such a big thing at the same time. And doing content is how you're going to be successful in the long run. Like after your competitive career, like you got to be kind of thinking like, where do I want to go with this now? Like, I'm this big personality in gaming and I'm known for placing really well in events and stuff like that. But it's like, well, what do I want to do now? Once you're like 25 or 30 or something, you might not have a college degree or something, and you might want to stay within the scene. So you might go like to get like a management position somewhere within an org. But sometimes that might not be available. So that's where kind of content, doing YouTube, streaming kind of helps you settle into that and kind of build up your personal brand and stuff for when you're ready to kind of sit back and kind of take a break from competitive or something like that.
Do you guide players like in that process at all? Because I think we were talking to might have been like Monster D Face, probably like about a month ago, and we were talking about how that's the whole content creation thing is definitely lost on a lot of even top players. They just
Mm-hmm.
want to compete and that's it.
Yep.
And I mean, like that's admirable, but at the same time, like you just said, you kind of have to think about the long term plan. You're not going to be able to compete at the top level for 10, 20 years, like whatever it is. Like, who
Yeah.
even knows if the game's going to be, as big as it is now, like in 5, 10 years or whatever it is. Um,
Yeah.
but it seems like there's, for a lot of these players who are especially younger, they don't have as much direction in terms of what they should be spending their time on, like how much time they should be spending doing content. Um, and that can be like a difficult thing to realize when you're super young. So do you guys like guide them in that process at all, or is it just like you're looking for players who are already kind of doing content and it's just built in because that's already their personality?
100%. I think it's like a bit of both. We kind of look at players that are willing to do stuff like that. We want to make sure they're willing to do content that we kind of set up. We have a content manager, Drifts or Bus. He kind of lays out like a whole month and a half's work of content that we want to post on YouTube. And then we also kind of look at players and talk to them on if they're okay with these ideas, if they have any ideas that they want to do, stuff like that. Um, but we do kind of guide them to do some things too. Any sponsor deals that kind of come in that are like doing the stream for charity or streaming this event or something like that, we kind of push towards our players to go ahead and do, just because that helps them as it helps us too. But yeah.
Yeah,
Taylor,
cool.
anything?
I mean, I don't really have much to add. Part of this same topic would be, how do you balance the value a Fortnite player brings versus the value of, let's say, your Valorant roster, right? Because the way I imagine it is that, a COD League, a Valorant League, League of Legends, the value a player brings in one of those leagues is much different than what you see within Fortnite. And mainly because of the league perspective, right? You're going to get eyeballs, certain things and aspects are going to happen based on your investment up front. But as far as Fortnite, that can really vary. You don't necessarily know what you're going to get out of a player in the future. And up until recently, we didn't even know if we're going to have tournaments in the future. So
Yeah.
how do you see and how do you guys kind of handle that volatility within Fortnite, as well as thinking about the value a player brings?
Yeah. We definitely look at all our players kind of individually, make sure they're like happy with everything, make sure if they need something that we can figure out a way to get that to them. Whether that be like really just anything, we make sure that they're comfortable playing, that they're kind of in a good mental state, because Fortnite can sometimes get wear down on your mental with like a couple of bad tournaments or a bad event or something like that. Something tilts you. Like Fortnite tilt, I feel like is a lot different than like a different tilt in like Valorant or something. Like Fortnite, when you get upset, it's like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Fortnite players, it's definitely a lot different than Valorant or League of Legends if you have a team like that, because for that usually you have like a team manager, kind of talking with the whole team, making sure everything's going well with them, making sure all the pieces are working right, everything's meshing well. While in Fortnite, it's kind of you're talking pretty much like one-on-one to a player, or you're talking with the whole team, like all 4 or 5 of the guys, how many players you have. And that's kind of how like we look at it. Fortnite players they're unique, but it's a cool esport to have, cool esport to be in.
Would you
And I definitely think a lot of orgs kind of should jump into Fortnite. I mean, we're kind of seeing that too with C9 signing a bunch of players, G2 signing Coop today. Crazy stuff.
Would you guys rather the structure that Fortnite has, like where it's more kind of hands off, versus like another esport like Valorant, say, where you have a lot more control over like who your players are playing with, the like who their coaches, who the managers, and stuff like that?
Yeah, I definitely think it's better for like from an organization standpoint to have it kind of like a structure like how Valorant is or how League of Legends is, where kind of the organization gets a lot of spotlight too, as well as the players. Like people have their favorite players and stuff, but obviously the org will get some spotlight too if they have, like a good squad and their team is just winning all these events, tearing through bracket play, stuff like that. But that same concept is kind of hard with Fortnite, since the way that the Fortnite model works now is it's kind of just opens.
Yeah.
Anyone can play, anyone can place. Then you get into semis and then finals for FNCS and stuff like that. But I definitely think for an org, it's better for like the Valorant kind of structure.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I mean, I would definitely agree. It's just an actual structure that you're dealing with within Fortnite. The opportunities not limitless, but you could do almost anything, right? The only thing is you're not going to be backed by the title, so you have to make room for yourself within this space, and it's taken time. There's been a lot of orgs that have come and gone and clearly didn't figure it out. There's something different about Fortnite, and you've touched on it, talked about it a few times. We talk about it quite often here. It's going to be that content and really driving an audience, driving eyeballs, because within this world of esports, sponsorships are key. Regardless of what organization, what esport it is, you're really not going to survive simply on tournament winnings, or you can, but that's not really how an org is going to thrive, right? You see FaZe and NRG as two of like the pinnacles, at least within North American esports, and I almost see them as an apparel company with influencers that are repping their brand and being advertisements, right? They're doing so much outside of simply esports. I mean, both of them have athletes signed to their organizations. Who would have even thought that an esports organization would have LeBron James's son as a member of FaZe Clan, right? And just the space is constantly changing. It's very new, so that's one of the coolest things, is the people on the ground floor get to figure out what works and what doesn't. But at the same time, just like any other startup, there's going to be people that fail, and there's going to be people that kind of get left in the dust because they're not willing to take chances, not willing to be creative and find new ways to create revenue. At the end of the day, that's what a business needs to do. Otherwise, you're going to be filing for bankruptcy.
Yeah.
I guess we can move on to our second topic, which it's just kind of an extension of this discussion, which is basically like, what role do you guys think Fortnite orgs are going to play in the future? Like, do you think it's just going to be basically the same as it is? Do you think there will ever be any more structure than there is right now? Like, do you think Epic will like move in that direction at all, like the way that other esports are, or do you think it's just generally going to be very open and hands off the way it is right now?
I don't know, I'd love to see like more structure kind of come in. Like maybe Epic can continue like running these like open tournaments and stuff like that people can just sign up for and play through like DreamHack, and tournaments that people can play in, like open events, then kind of the semis and then finals, kind of like how FNCS is. But I also like kind of having an idea of like a pro league or something, or maybe like signed organizations, like signed players to organizations, maybe having just events for like them kind of to incentivize joining an organization that is able to kind of jump into something like that, just to kind of promote structure. So it's not like every year you don't have like an influx of new players and then it's kind of like in with the old, then out with the new players. That's what I've kind of been seeing. Like you see a bunch of players quitting after a year of playing Fortnite just because it's taking a toll on their mental, or they don't feel like keeping up with the new meta and stuff like that. And you just see these new younger players just keep coming into the picture and making like their place in the forefront. And I feel like kind of like a pro league or structuring something like that would kind of slow that down for some players and kind of make these players like not just want to go crazy, but something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
That'd be cool to see.
that last piece is a really good point. Is the I don't even the dying of not dying, but kind of the burnout of players in Fortnite seems to be higher than it is in other titles. Maybe I'm just not as exposed to those, but the first thing that comes to my mind is Hogman. Hogman was one of the OGs, and he's signed to an organization, but clearly is making a shift to content over competitive. And part of that is the burnout and the grind that it takes. And he said, as someone doing this full time, it is hard to do both competing and actually focusing on content and making good content that people want to watch. But going back to like the general question of how are orgs going to fit over time, and what's the future of this? Honestly, I feel like in a couple of years, Epic may change their strategy. But as far as for the near future, next year and 2022, don't really see them changing anything. That's their philosophy has always been anyone can win. I'm throwing air quotes on that one. Anyone has the opportunity to compete at least. And it's worked for them. They've created a massive competitive title. Now that it seems like them themselves are still trying to figure out how to make that work and what they want that to be. But the investment for the long term is there from Epic. So now it's kind of interesting to see someone like G2 hop into Fortnite, because I would have never expected that until that announcement from Coop, right? Oh, we lost him.
Oh, he's back.
I don't even know what just happened.
Lost you for a second. But until G2 signed Coop, the only player they had on their roster was Tohai, and that's a completely different player, person, everything than what Coop has been recently. So for me, that was awesome to see. And we're seeing other orgs, C9's another example of just diving right back in. And I feel like it's somewhat because they failed at first and now they've figured it out, or at least they've seen how other orgs have figured it out and want to try and follow that same model. So, I mean, you guys, BBG is a good example of how to fit both content and competitive within a single space. And, having the top players within North America really doesn't hurt, but that's going to be how I see it. It's just going to continue the same way it has been. And you either make it or you don't, and it's not going to necessarily be on placements.
Yeah, you got to adapt to survive in the Fortnite industry. But I love it.
Yeah, it definitely seems to me like there's not going to be any changes in structure anytime soon. Epic obviously likes the open player philosophy where anybody could compete. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing either. Obviously, from an org's perspective, it's probably not ideal. But like, I would like to see them incorporate orgs in some way to try to make it, I don't know, more viable for orgs to survive in Fortnite. Like, I don't know, something as simple as creating like org-based cosmetics, like for the item shop or something like that, or they used to do well, they did it a few times where they had like the phase search and destroy tournament, 100 Thieves, whatever. Yeah, like I don't know, things like that, just to make the awareness of orgs a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Seems to me like orgs right now are just so kind of out of I don't like out of the loop and just like separate from
Yeah.
competitive events, and I don't know, it's weird. It definitely seems like that makes it more difficult for orgs to enter and stay in the space, and as a result of that, like it makes it harder for players to stay in the space because orgs provide like a consistent income, like consistent
Yeah.
uh, source of income that helps players stay in the game even when they're not performing as well, or
Yep.
in the
Give them
downtime
something to
when.
kind of fall back on too
Yeah,
if
exactly.
they need it. But 100%. It kind of gives like the kids to like something to look up to, not only just looking up to like a creator or something. Like gives them something to kind of look at and be like, I want to join that someday, and can kind of drive them to eventually join that org or something someday, which is cool.
Yeah, the one thing I feel that Fortnite is missing is that fanhood or kind of following that you have in other esports. Because I mean, to be honest, most people aren't a fan of an org within Fortnite.
Yeah.
It's I like this one player,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes this one player doesn't perform well, so then that kind of ruins an entire tournament, entire broadcast
Yeah.
for
We
the
just stop
fan of
watching.
that one player.
Yep.
Um, and in, like, if they were able to incorporate organizations in a little more heavy, I guess just a little bit, rather than just being there, and allowing them to, I don't know, maybe it's one season, or it doesn't even have to be its own season. They could literally just be its own tournament where you have the top X number of orgs get a roster, they get to fill a trio, a squad, whatever it may be, and we get to see that team or those teams compete. And then you get some sort of rooting interest. And personally, I feel like that would build a lot more interest because there's more storylines. There's a lot more to talk about because it's BBG versus NRG, and we're seeing them go back to back at Dooms, and this is
Yeah.
all going on, and like that drives interest to the game in the long term because the players, they're going to change. We've seen them change, but you don't necessarily have that staying power as far as like a viewer or a fan perspective, unless you get lucky and become a fan of the right player.
Yeah. 100%. I think that creates like storylines too that people can talk about for like months and months after, kind of how like, oh, like NRG was contested at Dooms or something by Liquid this entire tournament. They've just been going back to back. Or oh, like BBG and FaZe have been just going back and forth for that first and second place spot. And like it just creates good content and good storylines for everyone that's watching and everyone that's around the scene.
Yeah. I always
Yeah.
think about like in traditional sports. I have never been the type of person. I mean, I love sports, but I've never been the type of person to sit down on Sunday and watch every single football game. Like I will watch. I'm a Giants fan. I'll watch every Giants game.
Feel
Um,
bad.
yeah, it's brutal right now, but like I will watch every game of every one of my favorite sports teams: Yankees, Giants, Duke basketball, Islanders, whatever it is, and and
Go Buffalo.
but I'm just never the type of person to sit down and like watch two random teams play. Like even right now when the Tampa Bay Rays are playing the Houston
Yeah.
Astros, I find it difficult for me to sit down and just like watch those two random teams play, even if it's the ALCS.
Yeah.
Um, and for Fortnite, I've always kind of felt similarly, where like I love the game and I do like to watch it, but it's there's something missing there because you're just watching whoever is like playing at the moment, whoever is still alive at the
Yeah.
moment, um, and like Taylor just said, there's no real like fandom for orgs. Like you're not rooting necessarily for BBG when you're watching uh, FNCS finals for solos or for trios or whatever it is. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, I don't know. I kind of wish that that element was there more. It just feels like it brings a lot more excitement, a lot more passion to the spectator part of it.
Yeah, it elevates the whole experience for everyone. So
When you want to see rivalries, right? Like I
yeah,
feel like we don't really get the rivalries in Fortnite,
yeah,
and if we do, they die out quickly.
yeah. The
But
closest thing we got was that like the Heart and the Zayt at Dooms. Like that was
yeah,
like
and that's kind of not a thing anymore. It
yeah,
lasted what, a week, maybe
yeah.
two.
Lasted
Uh,
yeah,
and it's gone. Like, I don't know, that kind of stuff to me. I love that. I mean, stupid drama is kind of it's stupid, but it creates
it's content.
interest and yeah, the content,
Yeah,
and it's better than just sitting there watching someone swing a pickaxe off
yeah.
spawn and loot for the first 15 minutes of a game. There's something to watch.
Or
uh
someone playing Lobby Simulator or something because they died off spawn. It's,
yeah.
I don't know. I feel that.
Have you guys ever thought about like creating a I don't know like a box fight rivalry with another team to try to tap into that at all? Like I don't know.
I mean, that might be something that we're looking at, something like that, maybe like a Zone Wars rivalry or something. I don't know, but I know a couple nights ago, it was like 4 a.m. or something. Haz was streaming, and he got into like I don't know if you guys saw it on Twitter or anything the next day, but it was like 5 a.m. and Haz was making a tier list, and I think he was making a tier list with Mikey and Stretch, and Haz got into something with a player that he put like in the like a bad category, like just the lowest category, and the player got mad, and they ended up like box fight wagering on stream. They were like going back and forth. It was crazy. And it was content that like it was fun to watch like the two of them go back and forth and stuff, and then play each other in box fights to kind of like settle who's better and stuff like that. Like it was sick to watch that go down. I just wish there was like kind of more of that, like more of that energy and everything.
Yeah.
I feel that's something Fortnite kind of lacks.
Yeah, it definitely feels like when you're watching like FNCS Grand Finals, you're just kind of you're watching whoever's alive, and I guess you're kind of hoping that that specific person does well while you're watching them. So if they're popping off, they're like that's cool,
Yeah,
but there's no real like I'm rooting for this person, you're rooting for a different person. Like they're going head to head, and like we're like getting down
yeah,
each other's throats even as like fans. Like I feel like that happens in sports all the time. Like Red Sox, Yankees, you're like fans are getting down each other's throats even though like they have
yeah,
absolutely nothing to do with the outcome of the game. But
yeah,
uh, it just makes it that much more intense because you don't want a Red Sox fan. If you're a Yankees fan, you don't want a Red Sox fan.
yeah.
You know, making you like stupid or whatever after the Yankees lose to the Red Sox. Like I don't know. It just doesn't feel
100%.
like that's a thing in Fortnite. Um, and like it's good that everybody kind of roots for everybody to pop off. Like nobody, it doesn't feel like as often people are negative when somebody does really well. It feels like everyone's just kind of like, oh, you're sick, like you popped off,
Yeah,
whatever. But I don't know the competition, the intensity definitely adds something that's not there right now in Fortnite. I wish they would like experiment with how tournaments were played a little bit to try to create those conflicts a little bit more.
yeah. I agree. That'd be awesome to see that, but it is what it is.
Yeah. I guess before we move on, would you guys ever consider? So we saw TNA sign a full trio. Is that something that BBG has thought? I would assume you guys have thought of it, but given serious consideration, does that even matter to you that everyone is on the organization?
That's the thing. Like, I wish it did because that would just make everything like so much more enjoyable to watch. Like, if there was like an event that would come up and it'd be like you have to kind of stay with this streak. Like they tried doing that with series points where they want everyone to kind of stick together and stuff.
Yeah.
And doing that kind of would incentivize like an org, pick up like a good trio that's been sticking together. Um, Kind of like how TNA did, but that still doesn't stop players from like splitting with each other. Like even if it's just 3 weeks, like people just split to
Yeah.
go find like better players, I guess, because you can still qualify all the way through and just get top 15 in the finals and qualify for heats, or you could even still qualify for through series points somehow. But I feel like that should matter, but it kind of doesn't. I mean, it helps if they're like a really good trio or something. Like it'd be like, oh, that trio was insane. Kind of like how TNA is right now. They've been popping off. Day, Marrow, and Reverse, like they're nuts. But it's not really. It doesn't play too much of like an effect on orgs, and like when you're looking at players to sign. Um, if anything, like you look at a player and you're like, oh, they're playing with so and so on FaZe Clan and so on like Liquid. Like they have a stacked trio, like and they're a free agent. Let's go grab them. But
Yeah, it's fair. I was just curious. I mean, I didn't think that anyone really cared at this point. So.
yeah, I wish they did though. It'd be sick to see like that rivalry again, like we were just talking about. It'd be awesome. But
do you feel like that jumping ship thing where trios just kind of like break up in the middle of the season? Do you feel like that would happen more in other esports if there wasn't that org structure where you kind of just get signed and you have to play with the players you're put with? Do you think that? Yeah.
I think it kind of depends like what the game is too, because new games like Valorant, you kind of see that a lot with players kind of getting benched or something, or players getting traded somewhere, or players just getting released simply, and other new players or younger players coming into the scene and joining the team. But games like League of Legends, that's been around for a while, I don't think you see too much of that. I mean, you probably see some changes, but usually a top roster, like you don't see, I don't think, too much interchanging with players if they're performing and stuff like that. I mean, that's kind of usually the same with Fortnite too, but there are still like some trios that are kind of near the top or that could pop off and place in first that are kind of splitting or looking for one or something like that. But I don't know.
All right, cool. I guess I'll go ahead and introduce our next topic, unless either of you guys have any closing thoughts before we move on.
I'm down
All
with
right.
that.
Firing away. So recently, and really recently, I mean this past weekend, we saw Fortnite competitive, the Twitter actually engaging and posting content during events more than just broadcast is live. And that's all you hear until they post like the play of the day on Monday, Tuesday, whenever they decide to do it. And this is now they've kind of raised the bar, and not that it's a super high bar, but it's so positive for the scene when they're promoting players and content creators. I mean, I was able to scoop a retweet from Fortnite competitive the past like 2 weeks ago. So
your impressions are probably going crazy.
It was solid. It was solid. But do you think, or what are your thoughts here on the strategy moving forward of creators and how they're helping both the players being a little more community driven and just that general sense of, I guess, what's the right word for it, like activeness or being active?
I definitely think that that's like a step in the right direction. I think if they can keep expanding on this and kind of figure out new creative ways to kind of push more of this, and to keep going with this, because Valorant does a lot of creative stuff with their community. They post a lot of different tweets. They update their community with stuff they're doing, stuff with like anti-cheat or just general updates from their devs like themselves, because their devs like play the game like every day, which is like awesome to see. But it's cool to see that Epic is kind of taking that step too. It just kind of depends where they end up with it and where they're going with it. But I mean, I like seeing that they're active on Twitter. And I'd love to see like them kind of get more involved with like pages such like your guys' page, the One Up Analytics, like FCR rankings, Fortnite comp data, just pages like that, and kind of include that somehow. or maybe reach out to them and hire them or something like that, just to kind of get them involved and stuff like that. Because that kind of is what builds communities, is reaching out to the people that are like passionate in the scene. It's kind of like what CS:GO does too, but it'd be cool.
Yeah, hopefully we do see more like that. We saw Reese Hub this past week was on the cast as an analyst, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's, at least like from what I can remember, one of the first examples of that, where they just pulled someone who was mainly a content creator, not doesn't really have a lot of casting experience or like being on broadcast before, and put him on there, which is really cool. Seems to me like that would be like a winning formula, because you have people who are already have fans within the community and like are well known, and you put them on the cast and it's like a familiar face.
Yep.
But I don't know. I guess
I mean, I'd love to see like Ronaldo get on a stream or something.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Just go crazy like that. That would just bring so many viewers too. Like everyone loves Ronaldo. But
Yeah. Well, and it's easy stuff, right? Like,
Yep.
Money aside, it takes nothing to tweet during a tournament. They likely have a community manager, a social media manager, and you have to be somewhat competent and knowledgeable about Fortnite. And the value that a player would get out of being retweeted or shown on like the main broadcast is
Crazy.
enormous.
Yep.
Right? That's how you see people pop off. I mean, someone I think of recently is Day. Like, Day is constantly risen. Reet's another example. They just won the box fight championship today. But those guys are performing, being given the spotlight, and everyone just step back. All right, blow up, man. Like, it's your time.
Yeah.
And they kind of have the power. Like, it's right here. You got to wield it properly as we go.
Yeah, I agree.
What up?
I don't know. I don't really have anything else on that topic. I'm trying to think. Like,
all right, controversial. It sucks. They should delete the Twitter account. It should be no more. Don't talk to us whatsoever. That is the best way.
100% community driven.
Shut down all Fortnite tournaments. Nothing. We're done.
Deactivate it. We're going next.
Black hole.
No, but I think that's a good point what you said before, SpringLane. Like, I would love to see someone like Ronaldo on a cast.
Yeah.
Like, I feel
it'd just be sick to see like him and Clicks or something do a whole FNCS finals cast if they don't qualify, or them do just like a DreamHack finals or just something like that. Some event, just have them cast it. Like, it'd be sick. Like the amount of viewers that Fortnite would get too just doing that, and the amount of like exposure just to their channel plus Clicks and Ronaldo would give to players that are competing. Like, they could make players' careers if someone's like popping off or something like that. Because a lot of players do pop off in some events and they just don't get the recognition for it, which kind of sucks, but that's just how Fortnite is, I guess.
Yeah.
It feels like they might just be hesitant to do something like that because they're scared that a player is just gonna like say something or essentially.
Yeah, they are. I think they're like 16, right? Something like that. So something could like happen that wouldn't be too good for them, but
like the Zexro proved to us that the age thing is not the issue here, right?
That is true, Zach.
Like, there's just
I forgot about that.
A general sense, and even his friends, Mackwood and Calc, who are younger than him, were like, "Dude, what did you just do?"
It's just all of them as a combined whole. It's just, I don't know. They need schooling or something. Like, they're just crazy. I guess that's what Fortnite is, though.
Yeah, it is what it is. All right.
Like I said, Fortnite players are crazy. But
Hey, you're the manager, man. We just talk about it.
I don't know,
All
I
right.
grew up playing Fortnite since the beginning, so I was playing in like 2018, like the beginning of it. So fun game.
Do you still play?
Yeah, I still play. I think
Nice.
the only good event I had was Winter Royale, like the charity event, basically the one where like placing top 2K, I'll get money. But
It's okay. One Up and I did not place in there, so
do you guys
it's
still
our
play?
first. It was our first time playing comp together.
Oh man.
No, like short answer is I play very infrequently. Like I watch a lot more Fortnite than I'm actually playing.
I feel that.
Yeah, same.
I used
Honestly,
to,
like the big thing for me was once the charge came out, I just did
oh
not
no,
want to
that killed the
spend
game.
time trying to adjust to
Yeah,
that.
no, that
Before,
killed the game for me.
yeah, before that happened, I like actually played. I was playing pretty much
Yeah,
every day. I was playing pretty consistently, but after that, I
yeah, I
fell
feel
off.
that. I used to like scrim all the time back in like season 10 and stuff. See, the new start of the new season. Like, I used to play in East Open or Atlantis, whatever it's called, but uh, the charge kind of like ruined that whole grind for me. Like that whole season was just kind of like a mess. Like
Yeah,
I think that was like the worst state of Fortnite in a
yeah.
while.
With the,
I
like
think
it,
it's getting
Yeah.
back now, but
at the beginning
that
of
was
it with
definitely
the
the worst.
water too was
Yeah,
just
that was
brutal.
just ridiculous. Just that whole season was like one of the like the charge combined with the water combined with the solo events. Just wasn't it for me. Wasn't it for a lot of people, but I still played it somehow.
Yeah, 100%.
But,
All right. So one quick thing from you, and then let's grab some questions here from chat. I know some people have asked them. If you have questions, go ahead, throw them in the chat. But SpringLane is someone who is a general manager for an organization. Just, quick high level, what could someone do that would stand out to you and make you want to sign them? What are the little things? And just give us some insight as to what that could be.
um, so I think growing your brand as a whole, like growing out your Twitter, your Twitch, your YouTube, grinding those, and kind of to get big on those, you need to be like somewhat decent at the game. Like you want to grind your mechanics, you want to get your mechanics up. Uh, Make sure you're playing every day, practicing, scrimming as much as you can. Because East Open, like it is like a good kind of pipeline to get through the East Open ranks and then into your prac. Like that is like that works. It's not just like a made up thing. Like
Yeah.
you can grind through East Open and get into prac. I've seen people do it. But that just comes with a lot of dedication and stuff that you gotta have. You gotta have a lot of time to kind of dedicate aside to play the game every day, scrim every day, get your in-game experience up. Because you'll see people that are insane and creative and stuff like that. Like they'll be nuts PGers, nuts zone war players, but their in-game experience will kind of be lacking just because they haven't played in game as much as they've been like working on their mechanics. So you want to kind of have like a balance of both. And then once you're kind of good at playing the game and then having mechanics, like you want to grind streams, grind YouTube content, just tweet out a bunch of stuff. Try not to get blocked by anyone. Like it's pretty much it. Like it's kind of just it's just a grind. That's all it really is. But that's what a lot of stuff is.
I mean, I don't think that it's anything groundbreaking. If you look at it, most people would be like, all right, that's probably what I need to do. But,
Yeah.
Maybe someone sees this and that really hits home and they start grinding.
Yeah. I mean, just think like if any other like 15-year-old kid can do it, like you could probably do it too. So like, I don't know. You just got to put your head down and grind. That's all it is.
Cool. I want to grab some questions from chat. Wrap it up. Call it a day, boys.
Yep.
I saw Drift or Bust. I think he's your guys' content manager. He posted earlier about what do you attribute BBG content making a huge rise as of late, especially on YouTube. I'm not going to talk about the quality or anything like that or how the actual content is, but I think it's really you guys have signed the right people who have personalities and are more than just Fortnite players. We see a lot of because a lot of the content you're doing is like just asking questions to these players, or like the logo challenge I think you guys put out. And that's based on the players themselves. You know, they have personalities. Calc is a very strong personality.
The crazy one.
But you guys are bringing the best out of them, whereas some organizations may try and not hide but dampen someone like Calc, and you guys are really helping bring out the best as far as for him and the organization.
Stuff in real life too, we can do a lot more than just like trivia challenges or challenges like that, because we're just doing a lot of this over a call since COVID and everything, and everyone's kind of just been quarantining and whatever. But doing stuff in person, going somewhere, getting into a house or something, kind of doing what Energy did with their like house that they had for like a month. Like that was sick, just seeing the players in real life, seeing what they're like, how they act kind of around the other players under the org. That's kind of a big thing for a team, and that kind of establishes like other organizations just because of how well their roster gets along compared to someone who might have just a couple of Fortnite players and they don't do much content for the players, even though the players stream and compete every day and stuff like that.
All right, cool. What else we got? Best trio NA. I mean,
best trio NA. That's easy. That's easy. The Big Cree, Bucky, Kanads. It's got to be them.
Not a fan of these questions. I mean, they won, so sure. They're the best this week.
Who's your favorite trio? Or who do you think the best trio is?
I just told you I'm not a fan of these questions. There's no best, right? So the way I see it in Fortnite is there's certain levels, and there's only so many people that can compete at those levels. So like Creo obviously is one, Booga's trio is another. I think any trio you put Chap on, Zaitsaf, Stretch, that's another one. Max, X, Calc. The TNA guys, Miro, Day, and Reverse, like those are all guys that are going to be consistently, I'm sure I'm missing some too, but consistently at the top over the weeks. Whereas there's going to be trios where they might qualify top 15 once and close, awesome. They'll make grand finals, but they're not really in contention to win it. There are certain teams that are actually, they're built for this, you know, that they're ready to win events, and then there's some teams just trying to compete.
We need to get people to land at Stark and people to land at Doom. And just grief.
Well, we might be getting Stark. I forget who. Someone wants to land. Oh, it was Zex, Macwood, and Calc. They claimed they're going to land at Stark.
Now they got to land Craggy, rift into Stark. That's all they got to do.
I don't know about that, man. You're walking into a fight with worse loot every single time. Like, you just know you're walking in with worse loot.
Yeah. I don't know. We got to get him grief somehow.
Hey, it's the mid-game strats you got to figure out. The best state of Fortnite, in your guys' opinion. One up. Start us off.
I mean, I think my opinion's kind of tainted just because of when I played the game the most, which was Chapter 2, Season 2. I don't know. I guess I'll say it's either Chapter 2, Season 1 or Chapter 2, Season 2. I know most people don't like Season 2 because of like the mythics, like the drum gun and stuff like that. But I don't know. At the time, it was definitely an issue, but I just enjoyed playing the game so much that I look back on it fondly. So I'll say Season 2.
Feel that.
What about you guys?
I think like Christmas time Winter Royale, like not the first Winter Royale, but the second one. I don't know when that was.
I think that was season 1, chapter
Was that
2.
chapter 2, season 1?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it changed
I
over
think
like
yeah,
November of
yeah.
last year.
I think season X and chapter.
No, we
Ooh, we
lost
lost
him.
him again.
Down goes SpringLane.
Bro, I don't know what my laptop's doing. I don't know when I cut out, but I think season X, chapter 2, season 1. That was the best time. That was when me and the duo no shopping. Got the $200 bag, placing 1,500 at the Winter Royale.
Let's go.
Wish he still played the game. He quit the game.
I'd have to. I'd probably have to go chapter 2, season 1, just because it was so basic, and it just felt like pure skill was rewarded, and the RNG was somewhat removed from the game, and like best state wise, that's got to be it for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think the caddy launcher was like that just messed a lot of players up, like on game.
Yeah.
Like, that stuff was ridiculous. Fun to watch though.
All right, cool.
We have one more question before we wrap it up.
Questions about the rebrand or some BBG IRL content? You got anything you want to share with us here?
The rebrand's gonna be up tomorrow. I think at. Let me see what time. I think. Wait, I literally just had it. Tomorrow at 2, 3, 4, 5 p.m. Eastern. That's when it's gonna be up tomorrow. It's gonna be sick. And then IRL content. That'll be coming soon. That'll be coming really soon. So got for both those.
Exciting.
I'm gonna ask you one more question. This is not necessarily. I'm rephrasing this one from Matt here. But how do you get a job within esports, and what experience did you have that brought you to where you are?
I don't know. I kind of started like around. It was around season 4 of Fortnite. So I don't know, like season 1, season 4, like whenever that was. I think that was 2000. Was that 2018?
For season 1?
Yeah, like
Yeah, I believe
season 1,
so.
like just when the game came out, pretty much. Like I went to college, like I was going to college, so I didn't have time to play the game anymore. But I still wanted to kind of be involved in Fortnite just because the game is like cool. So I stuck around in the scene and stuff. Then I ended up meeting like a bunch of different players, and I joined an org that I used to play for back in like season 3. I think it was like Mazer HQ it was called. I joined them, and I just brought in a couple players that I saw that had like cool 90s. that was back when 90s were like the thing, and everyone's like, "Oh my god." So I brought in a couple of those players. I think only one of them still plays the game now. I think his name's Javas, but I brought in his roster, and I was managing them under Mazer for a little bit. And I was kind of doing a couple of things on the side within esports with like other orgs. But I was always kind of interested in like the management side of things. Like back in when I would play Call of Duty, I would used to run like small tournaments and stuff like that. Like I'd run my own tournament sort of Twitter page, and I'd host tournaments for small like $20 prizes and stuff. And then I really kind of got into it when I joined in Oregon 2019, which is around like the World Cup, and I kind of was like picking through players to bring into the roster and stuff like that. But it's kind of just being involved and like being on your grind and stuff like that, meeting people, making connections, I guess. That's pretty much like the big thing for esports, since like you really can't like go to college, I guess, for it. Well, I mean you can, but
Yeah, not really. There's very few like schools that even offer any kind of degree similar.
Yeah, it's weird. But I don't know. That's pretty much like what I did. Just
So
kind of make connections and everything.
simply put, hard work and networking is.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not as simple as that, as you just clearly explained. But
No, that's That's the gist, pretty much.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, you want to call it a day here? One up.
Yeah, thanks for joining us on the podcast today. Appreciate you taking the time.
I'm glad you guys had me. I was excited. It was awesome.
Follow SpringLane on Twitter at SpringLane_, I think it is.
Yeah.
Follow us on Twitter, I guess. And SpringLane, if you have anything to say. The BBG rebrand tomorrow at 5 p.m.
Yeah, look out for that.
Look out for
awesome.
that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, do you have anything to say?
No, I'm good. That's pretty much it. Shout out No Shopping if he's still watching, I guess. He's like in the room over listening.
Nice.
But that's pretty much it.
All right, cool. Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much,
having
guys, for watching, and we'll see you next week, hopefully.
Yep.
Try and be more consistent. Probably Thursday at 6. We'll go with that.
All right. See you guys.